Friends, if you're a fan of epic space adventures, unforgettable characters, and stories that combine action, emotion, and humor in the most brilliant way possible, then get ready. Because today we're diving into a movie that has earned a legendary place in the world of science fiction. Yes, I'm talking about Serenity, released in 2005. If you haven't seen this movie yet, trust me, you're missing out on something truly special. And if you want to watch it in English, then make sure to like this video right now. And hey, if you're visiting our channel for the very first time, a big warm welcome to you. We create videos on super hit movies, fun facts, reviews, and everything a true movie buff would love. So go ahead and subscribe, because you're going to love what we have in store for you. Now, back to today's video. In this video we're going to talk about Serenity, what this movie is all about, why it's considered a cult classic, and where exactly you can watch it today, whether it's on an OTT platform or a satellite channel. We'll be covering all the essential details so you don't have to search around. This is your one-stop shop for everything related to Serenity. Now let's go a bit deeper. Serenity is the cinematic continuation of the short-lived but hugely beloved TV series Firefly, created by none other than Joss Whedon. But don't worry, if you haven't seen the series, the movie still works perfectly on its own. It follows the story of Captain Malcolm Reynolds and his ragtag crew aboard the spaceship Serenity as they try to survive in a galaxy ruled by the oppressive Alliance. With a mysterious passenger on board and a deadly assassin on their trail, the crew faces danger, secrets, and a conspiracy that could shake the entire system. Sounds exciting, right? That's just the beginning. We'll also go behind the scenes and explore how this film came to be. From the challenges of reviving a cancelled show into a feature film, to how fans played a huge role in bringing it to the big screen, we'll cover the entire journey. You'll learn about the pre-production process, the creative vision, the casting choices, and how the team pulled off a visually stunning film on a limited budget. Speaking of budget, yes, we'll also talk about the technical side of things. What was the budget for Serenity? How much did it make at the box office? Was it a commercial success, or more of a fan-driven cult phenomenon? We'll look at the numbers and the impact it made over time. But that's not all. We'll dive into the music department too, because let's be honest, a sci-fi movie just isn't complete without an epic score to match. We'll explore who composed the music, how it complements the mood of the film, and what makes the soundtrack so memorable. And of course, we'll shine a spotlight on the cast. From Nathan Fillion's bold and witty performance as Captain Mal, to Summer Glau's mysterious and powerful portrayal of River Tam, we'll go through the major characters, the actors who brought them to life, and how each performance contributed to the magic of the film. We'll even share some fun facts about the cast and what they've said about working on this movie. We'll also take a closer look at the film story and give you a short review, without giving away any spoilers, so you can decide if this movie is right for your weekend watch list. Trust me, if you love fast-paced action, emotional depth, sharp dialogue, and a bit of philosophical reflection all wrapped in a sci-fi package, then Serenity is going to hit the mark. Finally, we'll wrap things up with a bunch of interesting and little-known facts about Serenity. Whether it's the design of the spaceship, the use of practical effects, how fans influenced the film's release, or hidden Easter eggs, you'll get to know everything that makes this film so iconic and beloved by its audience. So friends, grab your popcorn, sit back, and stay with us till the very end of the video, because we're about to take off on an exciting journey through the world of Serenity. Trust me, you don't want to miss a second of it. Alright then, without wasting any more time, let's jump into the video and explore the universe of Serenity. Alright, strap yourselves in because we're about to take one wild, hyperspace-jumping, nerve-twisting, heart-punching ride through the story of Serenity. And this isn't just any sci-fi movie. This is a full-blown space western with sharp wit, broken hearts, flying bullets, and a government conspiracy so big, it makes the whole galaxy shake. And yes, it unfolds like an absolute thrill ride. So we open not with one scene, but a narrative maze. It's genius. We start in the future, then flash back to the past, then zoom out into a training video, then into a secret lab feed, and that's just the first few minutes. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, but the onion is full of government lies, suppressed memories, and one very dangerous girl. Her name? River Tam. She's soft-spoken, mysterious, and oh yeah, psychic and deadly. Think ballerina meets sleeper agent with a hint of apocalypse. She was subjected to brain experiments by the totalitarian alliance, who tried to mold her into a weapon. Her brother Simon, a doctor turned outlaw, broke her out and now they're on the run. But not just from anyone. From a cold-blooded, honor-obsessed operative whose job is to clean up messy secrets. And River? She's the mess the Alliance desperately wants to erase. Enter the Serenity, the rust bucket of a spaceship with a crew held together more by sarcasm and survival instinct than any sense of duty. Captain Malcolm Reynolds is your classic anti-hero. A former soldier, now a rogue smuggler who's seen the galaxy chew people up and spit them out. His philosophy? Keep flying, keep out of trouble, and don't get attached. But as we'll see, the not getting attached part doesn't go too well. Now here's where the story starts cooking. The crew picks up a routine job, robbing a bank on a dusty backwater planet. Just another day in the black. Except River, who's supposed to be a stowaway ghost, suddenly goes full combat mode in a bar after seeing a subliminal message on a screen. It's not just a tantrum. She takes out the entire room in a storm of flying kicks, pressure points, and total chaos. This moment, this burst of violence, is the spark. Now they know, someone has programmed her mind, and the trigger's been pulled. From there, the story kicks into chase mode. The operative is closing in, and the crew is trying to figure out what secrets River holds in that damaged, brilliant brain of hers. And that's where the structure of the story really shines. It's not just action for the sake of action. Each new planet, each escape, and each encounter uncovers a piece of a much bigger mystery. River isn't just broken. She's carrying a truth that the Alliance will kill to keep hidden. They visit Haven, a sanctuary planet run by their old preacher friend Book. It's a brief pause, a quiet moment where we see what this crew is fighting for. Safety, peace, and maybe even redemption. But the operative finds them. He burns Haven to the ground without blinking. No warning. No mercy. And that's a turning point. Not just in the plot, but in Mal. That moment snaps something in him. The man who once ran from causes? Now he's ready to crash headfirst into one. The crew heads toward Miranda, a planet that's been wiped from star maps, hidden, forgotten. Why? Because what they find there is horrifying. The Alliance tried to chemically control the population. Make them more docile, more manageable. It worked. Too well. The people on Miranda stopped doing anything. They stopped walking, talking, living. They just laid down and died. But not all of them. A small percentage had the opposite reaction. They went mad with rage, and thus, the Reavers were born. These nightmarish, feral space monsters who roam the galaxy torturing and devouring everything in sight? Yep, that's on the Alliance. And River knew. Deep in her mind, she remembered Miranda. That's why they were after her. And now comes the biggest risk of the entire film. Mal decides they need to tell the galaxy the truth. But to do that, they have to fly through Reaver territory, in a ship held together with duct tape and sheer will, and make it to a broadcast station. It's a suicide mission, and everyone knows it. But the crew stands by him. They booby-trap their ship. They prepare for war. It's a classic last stand setup, and the emotion is raw. Everyone has something to lose, and everyone is prepared to fight like hell. The final battle is massive. Explosions, screaming Reavers, close combat madness. The operatives' forces and the Reavers clash in a giant space brawl while the crew fights for their lives on the ground. People fall. There are real losses. It hurts. One crew member's death hits especially hard. It's shocking, sudden, and gut-wrenching. But there's no time to mourn. River finally steps forward, not as the broken girl, but as the one who stands her ground. In a moment of pure cinematic glory, she faces the Reavers alone, weapon in hand, and lets them come. It's not just action. It's liberation. For her. For her crew. For everyone. Mal gets to the control room. He fights the operative in a brutal hand-to-hand duel that's more about ideas than fists. Peace through control versus freedom through truth. Mal wins, not just the fight but the argument. He broadcasts the truth. The whole galaxy sees the Alliance's dirty little secret. There's no going back. And here's what's brilliant. After all that, there's no grand celebration. Just silence. Stillness. Some wounds, some healing. The operative, defeated in spirit, lets them go. Not because he was beaten by force but by the truth. The final scenes bring us full circle. Serenity flies again. The crew is bruised, changed, but still flying. Still choosing freedom. Still choosing family. So no, Serenity doesn't do timelines in reverse or parallel universes. but it plays with something deeper: perspective and growth. It starts like a chase movie but slowly reveals itself as a rebellion, a moral awakening, a philosophical war. It juggles laughs, heartbreak, and rebellion in one hand, and never once drops the ball. Every turning point is a gut punch. Every character decision feels earned. And by the end, you realize, it wasn't just about uncovering a secret. It was about choosing who you are in a world that's trying to control you. And that, my friends, is what makes this plot not just exciting, but unforgettable. Absolutely. Let's expand this character exploration into a full, rich narrative experience. This version goes even deeper into motivations, relationships, transformations, inner conflicts, and how each person contributes to the emotional engine of Serenity. We're not just talking about who they are, we're stepping inside their stories. Let's blast off with Captain Malcolm Reynolds again, because if this ship is a family, Mal is the grumpy, traumatized dad trying his best not to show that he still cares. At first glance, he's a man hardened by war, scarred by betrayal, and dead set on never being vulnerable again. The war he fought, the Battle of Serenity Valley, wasn't just a defeat. It was a spiritual implosion. He believed in something. He gave everything to it. And it failed him. So now he floats through life keeping people at arm's length, cracking wise, and pretending the only thing that matters is staying out of Alliance crosshairs and getting paid. But of course, he cares more than he wants to admit. He won't say it, but this crew? They're his people. His awkward, chaotic, emotionally scarred people. Watching Mal throughout the film is like watching a man wrestling with his old self. He doesn't want to lead a rebellion. He doesn't want to be a hero. But in his bones, he is one. It's just been buried under layers of hurt. And when the truth about Miranda comes out, when the Alliance crosses a line he can't unsee, that part of him snaps back into place. He becomes the man he was always meant to be. Not a polished soldier, but a moral force with a ship, a cause, and nothing left to lose. Now, River Tam. River's story is the mystery, the threat, the payload, and ultimately, the redemption. She begins the film fragile, twitchy, a whisper of a girl in the corner of the frame. But you can feel the storm behind her eyes. It's not just that she's psychic or dangerous. It's that she knows something, and it's too big for her to hold. Her development is haunting. She doesn't blossom gradually. She erupts. The Alliance tampered with her brain, trying to create the perfect weapon, but in doing so, they left a trail of chaos behind her. She's not just unpredictable, she's fractured. And yet, her humanity never disappears. River isn't a machine or a puppet. She's a brilliant, wounded soul trying to find her place. Watching her build from a silent shadow to the most powerful person in the room is thrilling. But it's also emotional. Because you're not just seeing her get stronger, you're seeing her heal. Her final stand against the Reavers isn't just about saving the crew. It's about claiming ownership of herself. She becomes not just part of the family, but its protector. Her arc is the heart of the story. Simon Tam, her brother, is the emotional backbone. He's the calm in River's storm. When we meet him, he's all clinical precision, polished manners, and noble intentions. But what's fascinating is how the grime of the verse slowly scrapes that polish away. You'd think a genius doctor from a privileged background would crack under pressure, but Simon becomes tougher, more committed, more human with each challenge. His love for River is absolute. It's what propels him into this lawless world. But he also learns to value the crew. He starts off an outsider, unsure how to interact with these rough-edged smugglers. By the end, he would die for them. His quiet courage, his awkward romance with Kaylee, and his fierce protectiveness make him one of the most understated but deeply felt characters on board. Speaking of Kaylee, she is joy in human form. While everyone else broods or hides their feelings, Kaylee feels everything out loud. She's the heart of Serenity, both emotionally and mechanically. Her optimism isn't naivety. It's defiance. In a dark, cold universe, she chooses to believe in love, in kindness, in second chances. Watching her frustration with Simon is hilariously relatable. But it's not just comic relief. Kaylee wants to be seen, to be chosen. She wants softness in a world that keeps hardening around her. And when she's pushed into the fight, literally having to grab a weapon and defend her family, you see that her strength isn't in fists or firepower. It's in her spirit. She's scared, but she acts anyway. That's courage. Then there's Zoe Washburne, who walks around like a walking legend. A former soldier like Mal, Zoe is cool-headed, deadly, and completely devoted to her captain and to her husband. Her loyalty is unwavering, but she's not a sidekick. Zoe is the anchor. She makes impossible decisions, carries impossible grief, and somehow keeps going. Her relationship with Wash is one of the most authentic portrayals of love in sci-fi. They're not in the honeymoon phase. They've seen war. They bicker. They tease. But they get each other. When tragedy strikes, and it hits hard, you see Zoe's world break in real time. She doesn't fall apart. She tightens, gets colder, deadlier. But you feel that ache underneath her every breath. It's a raw, devastating performance. Wash, her husband, is the comic relief with a soul. He flies the ship, cracks jokes, and plays with toy dinosaurs. He's the lightness in the darkness. But he's not just the funny guy. Wash represents the ordinary man caught in extraordinary circumstances. He's not a soldier. He's not a warrior. But he shows up anyway. His love for Zoe is beautiful and grounded. And when he's taken from us so suddenly, so shockingly, it's like the film dares you to feel real loss in the middle of all the sci-fi noise. And you do. Because Wash wasn't just there to fly the ship. He made you laugh. And when he's gone, the silence is deafening. Now let's shine a spotlight on Jane Cobb, the walking contradiction. He's the tough guy with the biggest gun and the smallest patience. Jane is brash, selfish, occasionally dumb, but never one-dimensional. What makes Jane compelling is that he knows he's not the hero. He doesn't want to be. He's in it for the money, for the thrill, for the protein bars. And yet he stays. He fights. He could walk away at any time. But he doesn't. And in the quiet moments, when no one's looking, you see him struggling with right and wrong. He's not about to write poetry or hug anyone, but Jane surprises you. He's the unexpected conscience of the crew, in his own gruff way. And finally, we circle back to the operative. If River is the haunted, broken future the Alliance created, then the operative is its most refined weapon. He believes in order. He believes in sacrifice. He commits unspeakable acts without a flicker of doubt, because he thinks he's creating paradise. What makes him fascinating isn't his power. It's his faith. And when that faith crumbles, when the truth shatters his world, you don't feel triumph. You feel sorrow. Because he wasn't evil. He was wrong. And realizing that breaks him more than any weapon could. Every character in Serenity carries their past, their pain, their hopes and regrets, right there on their sleeve, or hidden just beneath the surface. They fight, they cry, they tease, they love. They change. Not always in huge ways but in honest ones. And by the time the credits roll, you don't just feel like you've watched a story. You feel like you've lived with these people. And once you've flown with this crew, part of you will never leave that ship. Let's blow the airlocks wide open and dive even deeper into the performances in Serenity, because honestly, this cast doesn't just show up. They inhabit the story like they were born in the universe. The performances are the living, breathing engine of the film, humming beneath the action, the sci-fi spectacle, the spaceship chases, and the psychic meltdowns. Without this ensemble cast firing on all cylinders, the movie wouldn't soar the way it does. It would be just another spaceship adventure. But these actors? They make it personal. They make it human. They make it hurt in all the right ways. Let's return to Nathan Fillion, because the more you watch him as Captain Malcolm Reynolds, the more layers you peel back. Fillion doesn't just act Mal. He wears him like a skin. His delivery is sharp, sarcastic, full of sly charm, but never flat or surface level. His every joke feels like it's covering a scar, and every moment of silence speaks volumes. Fillion shifts effortlessly between roles: rogue, leader, father figure, disillusioned soldier, reluctant hero. One minute he's cracking a deadpan line about danger, the next he's holding back a tidal wave of guilt and trauma. What makes his performance so magnetic is the constant tug-of-war happening behind his eyes. He doesn't want to care, but he does. He doesn't want to lead, but he must. He's the guy who pretends not to believe in anything, but when he finally finds something worth fighting for, his conviction hits like a supernova. There's a moment where Mal stares down the operative and says, "I aim to misbehave," and you feel the room shift. Fillion's delivery turns a cheeky phrase into a declaration of war. That's not acting. That's ownership. Summer Glau as River Tam gives a performance that's completely unlike anyone else in the film. She doesn't play River like a regular character. She plays her like a storm trying to pass for a breeze. Glau's performance is built on nuance and physicality. The way she moves, light, deliberate, often alien, is just as much part of her character as her dialogue. Her expressions flicker rapidly between fear, rage, confusion, and awe, sometimes all in a single look. But the true magic is in how she holds everything back until the exact right moment. She lets River unravel slowly, piece by piece, so by the time she explodes in that third act, when she takes on an entire room of Reavers, you're not just watching a cool fight scene. You're watching a woman claim her body, her power, her mind. Glau makes River's instability feel real, her brilliance feel dangerous, and her emotional breakthrough feel transcendent. It's a haunting, graceful performance, equal parts ballet and breakdown. Sean Maher's portrayal of Simon Tam is the glue holding the emotional chaos together. He begins as a picture-perfect professional, clean-cut and emotionally armored. But Maher subtly lets those layers crack as the story unfolds. There's a restraint to his performance, a tightness in his voice, a tension in his posture, that reflects Simon's fear of losing control. But he's not cold. He's just scared. And the more he's forced to step outside his comfort zone, the more his humanity shines through. His love for River isn't sentimental. It's fierce, almost obsessive. Maher plays Simon like someone who gave up everything for his sister and is now living in permanent panic that it wasn't enough. His tender awkwardness around Kaylee, his controlled fury in the face of injustice, and his heartbreaking helplessness when he's wounded all hit with unexpected weight. He never tries to steal a scene, but he ends up stealing your heart. Jewel states Kaylee is the heart and soul of the ship, and State's performance is a ray of sunshine breaking through storm clouds. She brings such sincerity to Kaylee that it's impossible not to love her. State doesn't overplay Kaylee's sweetness. She grounds it in a quiet strength. Kaylee's not just the bubbly mechanic. She's the emotional lifeline for the crew. And when she hurts, you hurt. State's timing in romantic and comedic scenes is delightful, especially in her slow burn tension with Simon. But it's in the darker, more dangerous moments, when Kaylee is scared or furious or heartbroken, that State really surprises you. Her performance says, "I may fix the ship with a smile, but I'll fight to protect my family." Gina Torres as Zoe is pure command. She walks into every scene like she owns the space, and it never feels like a performance. It feels like fact. Torres gives Zoe an incredible presence. Statuesque, composed, and cool in the heat of chaos. But she also knows when to let the mask slip. Zoe's loyalty to Mal, her love for Wash, her pain after loss, it all plays out with understated intensity. Torres never needs a big monologue to make an impact. A glance, a pause, a clenched jaw, that's all she needs. When she goes into battle, she's a force of nature. When she grieves, it's quiet devastation. Torres makes Zoe the rock of Serenity, and her emotional restraint gives the film some of its most powerful moments. Alan Tudyk's Wash is like a masterclass in balancing comedy with vulnerability. He's the funny guy, yes, the quirky pilot with toy dinosaurs and a running commentary on how everyone's going to die. But Tudyk infuses Wash with so much warmth that his humor never feels flippant. His love for Zoe is real and steady, and Tudyk plays their relationship with such effortless chemistry that it feels lived in and natural. Even in the middle of crisis, Wash finds time to be funny, and it never undermines the tension. If anything, it deepens it. He's the audience surrogate in many ways, reacting the way we would if we were suddenly flying into a death trap. And when he's taken from us with shocking speed, the entire mood of the film shifts. That moment hurts not because it's dramatic, but because Tudyk made you care so deeply in such a short amount of time. Adam Baldwin's Jane Cobb is both the comic brute and the low-key moral barometer. Baldwin plays Jane with a barely concealed volatility. He's the guy who might sell you out today and save your life tomorrow. But there's something in Baldwin's performance, a hesitancy, a confusion, that makes you realize Jane isn't just selfish. He's lost. He's trying to find where he fits, and he's not used to being part of something bigger than himself. Baldwin nails the role of a reluctant ally, someone who'd never admit he cares, but proves it when it counts. His moments of quiet reflection, rare though they are, hit harder because they're unexpected. And finally, Chiwetel Ejiofor as the operative. What a villain. What a performance. Ejiofor plays him with chilling calm and intellectual clarity. He's the kind of man who can deliver a philosophical speech while murdering someone and make it sound like a bedtime story. His voice is smooth, his eyes unflinching, and his logic terrifying. But what makes Ejiofor's performance brilliant is the humanity behind the fanaticism. He doesn't play the operative as a monster. He plays him as a true believer, someone who's willing to stain his hands to build a world without sin. And when that belief crumbles, Ejiofor lets it show with exquisite restraint. His breakdown is quiet. A man who believed in perfection realizes he was just a tool. And the sorrow in his final scenes is played with such grace, such dignity, that it lingers. Every actor brings something essential to Serenity. Alright, buckle up, because diving deeper into Joss Whedon's direction in Serenity is like peeling back layer after layer of a brilliantly engineered spaceship. Each component meticulously crafted to work in harmony, propelling the whole story forward with style, emotion, and a spark of something truly special. Whedon doesn't just point a camera and shout, "Action!" He's a storyteller with a grand vision, and every directorial choice feels like a deliberate stroke in an intricate painting that balances grit, heart, and wit. First off, Whedon's approach to tone is nothing short of a masterclass in juggling contrasts. Serenity isn't just a space western or a sci-fi thriller. It's all of those things and so much more. From the very first moments, Whedon makes sure you know this isn't your average galaxy far, far away. The film's tone swings between dark, brooding moments of danger and loss, and light-hearted banter that feels so natural you might forget the stakes are sky high. The laughs don't undercut the tension. They heighten it. Why? Because when the crew cracks a joke in the middle of a firefight, you feel their camaraderie, their humanity. Whedon's tone lets you breathe in the versus dangers but also its warmth and humor. It's like being with friends on a long, dangerous journey where joking is the only way to keep the fear from swallowing you whole. Whedon's skill in mood setting is a huge part of why Serenity sticks with you. The film's mood shifts seamlessly from claustrophobic tension inside the ship to expansive, eerie stillness on desolate planets. You can feel the oppressive weight of the Alliance's control in scenes shot with cold, sterile lighting and sharp, clinical angles. Contrast that with the warm lived-in feel of the ship's interior. Wood paneling, cluttered consoles, flickering lights. Whedon uses these visual cues to create an immediate sense of place and mood that supports the story without a single word spoken. The mood is a character in itself, changing as the narrative demands, and Whedon navigates those shifts effortlessly. Now let's talk style. The cinematic flair that makes Serenity not just a movie but an experience. Whedon doesn't rely on flashy CGI or over-the-top spectacle. Instead, he opts for grounded, intimate camera work that puts you right there with the crew. His use of long tracking shots is particularly impressive. The way the camera weaves through the corridors of Serenity, catching snippets of conversations and glimpses of the crew at work or at ease, builds a living, breathing environment. It's like a dance, the camera flowing fluidly around the characters, never static, always moving with purpose. This technique not only grounds the story but creates a sense of immersion rarely achieved in sci-fi. You're not just watching a spaceship, you're on it, feeling the cramped spaces, the hum of engines, the pulse of life on board. Whedon's composition choices also stand out. He loves to frame his characters in ways that reflect their emotional states. Is Mal isolated and burdened? He might be framed against a dark backdrop, shadows swallowing the edges. Is River caught in a moment of confusion or power? The lighting will be stark, sometimes almost clinical, highlighting her alien nature. These subtle choices add layers of meaning that deepen your connection to the characters without needing explicit dialogue. It's visual storytelling at its finest. The pacing of Serenity is another aspect where Whedon's direction shines. The film never rushes. It lets scenes breathe when they need to. Those quiet, introspective moments that reveal character fears, hopes, and regrets. But it also knows when to pick up the pace, kicking into gear with action sequences that feel chaotic and urgent rather than slick and choreographed. Whedon's timing keeps you off balance in the best way possible. Just when you settle into a moment of calm, the tension ratchets up again. This push and pull mirrors the unpredictable life the crew leads, never knowing if they're moments away from safety or disaster. One of Whedon's boldest narrative choices as a director is how he layers the story. Serenity isn't just a straightforward adventure. It's a complex web of backstory, political intrigue, personal trauma, and moral ambiguity. Whedon handles all of this without letting the audience feel lost or overwhelmed. He's a master of visual exposition and dialogue that feels natural, never forced. The film uses flashbacks, dreams, and character reflections to slowly unfold secrets about River, the Alliance, and the Reavers. Each reveal is timed to maximize impact and deepen emotional resonance. The result is a story that feels rich and textured, like you're uncovering the layers of a mystery alongside the characters. Whedon's directorial vision also shines in how he treats the film's themes. The battle between control and freedom, faith and skepticism, loyalty and betrayal. All of these big ideas are woven through the visual storytelling and character interactions. Whedon doesn't hit you over the head with messages. Instead, he lets the themes emerge naturally from the characters' choices and struggles. The director's hand is evident in the way scenes are staged to echo these conflicts, whether it's the sterile, authoritarian Alliance headquarters contrasting with the warm, chaotic Serenity ship or the operative's cold logic clashing with Mal's rebellious heart. And then there's the emotional pacing, arguably one of the film's greatest strengths under Whedon's direction. The movie takes risks by lingering in moments of grief, hope, and tension longer than many blockbusters would dare. When a character faces loss or revelation, Whedon lets the scene unfold slowly, giving you time to sit with the pain or joy. It's a bold choice that makes the audience feel deeply invested in the story's stakes. It's this patient, empathetic direction that turns Serenity from just another sci-fi flick into a heartfelt journey. Even the humor benefits from Whedon's unique directorial touch. His timing is impeccable. He knows how to deliver jokes in the midst of chaos without breaking the tension. The witty dialogue doesn't feel like comic relief. It's a vital part of how these characters survive. The laughs make the dark moments hit harder by contrast, and Whedon's control over tone ensures the humor always serves the story, never distracting from it. In the end, Whedon's direction in Serenity is a dazzling display of storytelling craft. He blends style with substance, action with introspection, humor with heart, and tension with release. His clear vision shapes every frame and every beat, guiding the audience through a complex, emotional, and thrilling ride across the verse. He respects the source material, honors the characters, and never forgets the human core at the heart of the story. That's the kind of direction that makes Serenity not just a movie, but an unforgettable experience. Alright, let's really dive deep into the cinematography of Serenity, because it's not just about pretty shots or flashy effects. It's a full-on visual symphony that plays with every element of the frame to pull you into this unique universe and make you feel every moment. From the smallest flicker of light on a character's face to sweeping panoramic vistas of desolate planets, the cinematography here is a masterclass in storytelling without words, telling you what the script sometimes can't quite say, or making what it says resonate on a whole new level. Starting with camera angles, the choices are never accidental. They're a kind of silent language that informs how we see each character and situation. Low angles are often employed to give characters like Mal that larger-than-life presence. When Mal steps into a room, the camera looks up at him just enough to make you sense his authority and the weight of responsibility he carries as captain. But it's not a heavy-handed power trip. Whedon's team uses this angle selectively, so it feels earned and subtle. Then you flip it around, and you have high-angle shots on characters who are vulnerable, trapped, or wrestling with inner demons. River, especially, is frequently caught in these kinds of frames, her smallness against the backdrop of the vast, unfeeling universe emphasizing her fragile, mysterious state. Sometimes, a slightly tilted or Dutch angle creeps in during moments of chaos or psychological turmoil, throwing the world off balance and letting you share the character's disorientation. Lighting in Serenity deserves a whole essay of its own. The cinematographers embrace a palette that's far from the slick, hyper-realistic sci-fi glow you might expect. Instead, the light is often practical and gritty. Think flickering fluorescent bulbs, dusty sunlight pouring through grimy windows, the harsh glare of control room monitors. This isn't a shiny future. It's a universe that feels lived in and worn, where light and shadow fight for space just like the characters do for survival. Take the scenes inside the ship. The lighting is warm but patchy, creating pockets of intimacy and secrecy. You get this sense that the crew is hiding away from a hostile galaxy, cocooned in their own imperfect little world. Shadows fall across faces in a way that hints at hidden motives and unspoken histories, lending an almost noirish vibe to certain exchanges. Then there's the exterior lighting, particularly on the planets. The cinematography often uses naturalistic sunlight to hammer home the isolation and harshness of frontier life. Wide shots of barren, sun-bleached landscapes stretch endlessly, filled with dust and wind, as if the camera is breathing in that desolation along with the audience. These moments not only set the tone but build the atmosphere. The emptiness is almost tactile, making you feel the weight of loneliness and the stark beauty of these forgotten worlds. The contrast between these harsh exteriors and the ship's cozy interiors heightens the sense of safety and danger, home and exile. Framing is where the film's cinematography becomes almost poetic. The way characters are positioned in the frame often mirrors their relationships and emotional states. Close-up shots on faces, sometimes with extreme shallow focus, force you to confront the raw emotions etched into the actors' performances. Every flicker of doubt, every flicker of hope is magnified. Group shots of the crew often show them bunched together in tight, cramped spaces, visually reinforcing their bond and mutual dependence. Conversely, when the story wants to highlight isolation or conflict, characters are framed apart, sometimes dwarfed by their surroundings. This visual storytelling doesn't hit you over the head. It whispers, drawing you into the psychology of each moment without a single word. One of the most memorable uses of cinematography is the sequence where River's powers burst forth during a fight. The camera work here is frenetic but controlled, tracking her fluid, lightning-fast movements with smooth, sweeping shots that give you a front-row seat to her terrifying abilities. Unlike many action scenes that rely on rapid cuts to confuse, this one lets you see the fight clearly, making the violence visceral and impactful. The interplay of light and shadow in this sequence also amplifies her otherworldly aura. At times, she's almost a silhouette against harsh, flickering light, part predator, part prey. The cinematography turns her into a living force of nature, unpredictable and awe-inspiring. Another visual highlight is the way the film uses silhouettes and backlighting to create moments of quiet reflection. Scenes where characters stand framed against starry skies or glowing ship windows feel almost like paintings, capturing the vastness of space and the character's small place within it. These shots aren't just beautiful. They're loaded with meaning. They evoke the themes of freedom and destiny, isolation and connection that pulse through the film's core. When Mal stands looking out at the stars, framed by a window's curved edge, the cinematography invites us to share his longing and burden in a way dialogue never could. The cinematography also expertly balances the hectic with the still. The camera often moves in long, fluid takes that glide through the corridors of Serenity, letting you soak in the ship's atmosphere and the interactions among crew members. These tracking shots aren't just technical flourishes. They build a rhythm that mirrors the heartbeat of the ship itself, steady and alive despite the chaos outside. In contrast, when the tension ramps up, the film switches to handheld camera work. The resulting shakiness adds urgency and unpredictability, plunging you into the middle of fights, chases, and escapes. This dynamic shift keeps the viewer on edge, making the action scenes feel immediate and dangerous rather than choreographed or rehearsed. Lighting and color grading also shift to match the narrative's emotional beats. The cold, sterile blue tones of the Alliance's headquarters create a stark, oppressive atmosphere that feels like a cage. The shadows here are deep and unyielding, visually reinforcing the weight of authoritarian control. Meanwhile, the Reaver scenes lean into dark, shadowy aesthetics with high-contrast lighting that turns these savage marauders into nightmarish figures emerging from the abyss. The chiaroscuro effects, the sharp interplay of light and darkness, make the Reavers not just scary but almost supernatural, heightening the horror and unpredictability they represent. Finally, it's worth noting how the cinematography respects the source material's spirit. The visual style echoes the rugged handcrafted feel of the original Firefly series, with an emphasis on realism and texture over flashy effects. Every set piece, every corridor, every dusty landscape feels tangible, lived in, and authentic. This choice grounds the film's more fantastical elements, making the story's emotional core hit harder. When the cinematography is this thoughtful, it makes the universe believable and immersive, one where the struggles, hopes, and heartbreaks of the characters feel immediate and real. So when you watch Serenity, remember the camera is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It's not just capturing the story. It's shaping it, coloring it, and breathing life into it. Alright, let's really take a deep dive into the editing and pacing of Serenity, because this is one of those subtle behind-the-scenes crafts that you might not always consciously notice while watching, but it's absolutely crucial in shaping how the entire film feels from start to finish. Editing isn't just about chopping up footage or fitting scenes together. It's the invisible thread that weaves the narrative's heartbeat, guiding you through the twists and turns, highs and lows, at just the right tempo. Serenity excels in this department, delivering a rhythm that feels both natural and engaging, like you're flowing alongside the crew through their adventures in a universe that's big, rough, and sometimes heartbreakingly intimate. Right out of the gate, the film's editing establishes a pace that grabs your attention without overwhelming you. It doesn't waste time meandering or over-explaining but also doesn't rush headlong into the action before you've had a chance to connect with the characters. This is a hard balance to strike, especially with a story as layered and genre-mixing as Serenity. You're dealing with sci-fi world building, Western motifs, character-driven drama, and pulse-pounding action sequences, all of which demand very different pacing approaches. The editing team juggles these seamlessly, creating transitions and flows that feel intuitive and effortless. Scenes slide smoothly into one another, as if the camera itself is gliding through the ship's corridors, pulling you alongside the crew. This seamless flow is what keeps the world feeling immersive and consistent, preventing the narrative from ever feeling choppy or disjointed. Speaking of transitions, the way Serenity moves between scenes is a masterclass in subtlety. The cuts are clean but creative, often using visual or thematic cues to link one moment to the next. For instance, a wide shot of the ship soaring through the void can dissolve into the dusty streets of a frontier town, signaling a change of place while maintaining narrative momentum. Sometimes transitions play with color or light to gently guide you through changes in tone or time. This kind of editing isn't flashy or showy. It's more like a whisper that keeps you on track without ever pulling you out of the story. It's a gentle nudge that lets the narrative breathe and evolve organically. When the action sequences arrive, the editing shifts gears but never loses control. The pacing picks up, and the cuts become sharper, quicker, injecting an adrenaline rush that matches the stakes on screen. What's impressive is that the editing here respects the choreography, allowing you to follow each punch, dodge, and blast with clarity. It's not a blur of rapid-fire cuts that leaves you disoriented, but a carefully constructed sequence that builds excitement and tension. The fight scenes, especially those showcasing River's explosive abilities, use tight editing to heighten the impact without sacrificing coherence. You can actually see the power and emotion behind every move, which makes the violence feel meaningful rather than gratuitous. Yet, Serenity never lets the editing drive the film into relentless pace. It smartly pulls back during quieter, more introspective moments. Scenes of the crew sharing meals, swapping stories, or grappling with their pasts are given space to unfold naturally. This deliberate pacing in calmer moments deepens your connection to the characters, making you care about their struggles and triumphs beyond the surface-level action. The editing here creates a gentle ebb and flow, like a tide that pulls you in close before releasing you back into the wider adventure. It respects your attention, your emotional investment, and your need to catch your breath amid the chaos. Flashbacks and memory sequences are handled with particular finesse. The film weaves these moments into the main narrative with smooth, subtle shifts, often through changes in color saturation, lighting, or soft focus, that cue you in without jarring you. These insertions enrich the story and character development, giving you glimpses into backstories that explain motivations and relationships without stalling the present-day action. It's like the editing invites you to lean in and listen, to understand the emotional undercurrents beneath the plot's surface. Montage sequences play a strategic role in the pacing too. When the story needs to cover big leaps, whether it's traveling across star systems or prepping for a big mission, the editing speeds up through quick, stylish cuts that compress time without losing impact. These montages keep the narrative tight and energetic, preventing it from getting bogged down in unnecessary details while maintaining momentum. It's a storytelling shortcut that feels efficient and satisfying, making you feel the passage of time and the build-up of stakes all at once. One of the most remarkable aspects of the editing is how it handles the film's shifting tones. Serenity is an emotional kaleidoscope, blending humor, drama, action, suspense, and even moments of tender family warmth. The editing balances these tonal jumps with grace, so the mood changes feel natural rather than jarring. When the story leans into humor and camaraderie, the pace softens and loosens. When tension rises, the cuts tighten and quicken to ramp up suspense. This dynamic control of rhythm keeps you emotionally engaged and the narrative fresh, never allowing the film to feel stagnant or monotonous. Even the quietest, most reflective scenes benefit from thoughtful pacing. The editors avoid lingering too long on any one shot, which could sap energy, but also resist the temptation to rush through important emotional beats. This thoughtful timing creates a steady current that pulls you through the story gently but insistently, like a careful guide who knows exactly when to speak and when to let silence speak for itself. During moments of high tension or drama, the editing employs rapid cuts, close-ups, and reaction shots to amplify stakes and emotions. This technique mimics the characters' quickened heartbeats and escalating peril, drawing you deeper into their struggles. Yet, it's never overdone. The bursts of energy are balanced with moments of stillness, so the tension feels earned and not manipulative. The editing becomes a pulse that matches the story's emotional rhythm, syncing your heartbeat with the characters. As the film moves toward its climax and resolution, the editing skillfully builds to a crescendo. The pace slows just enough to let the weight of the story's turning point settle in, giving you time to absorb the significance of the characters' choices and the consequences they face. Cuts linger long enough for the emotional beats to resonate but continue to push the narrative forward with urgency. This crescendo-like editing shapes a powerful payoff that leaves you feeling both satisfied and reflective. In essence, the editing and pacing of Serenity act like the invisible conductor of a complex orchestra. They expertly balance propulsion and restraint, excitement and introspection, clarity and emotional complexity. This careful rhythm keeps you engaged not just with the plot but deeply connected to the characters and the world they inhabit. Watching Serenity isn't just a passive experience. It's like riding a wave of emotion and action, expertly crafted to hold your attention and touch your heart. The editing doesn't just tell you the story. It makes you live it. Let's really sink into the world of Serenity's soundtrack and score, because this is where the film's soul often whispers to you in ways that dialogue and visuals alone can't quite reach. The music in Serenity is a masterclass in how soundscapes and melodies can become more than just background. Here, they're an emotional language all their own, carrying the weight of the vast cosmos and the intimate struggles of the characters with equal grace and power. This isn't just a film with a score slapped on top. It's a film where the music lives and breathes alongside every frame, deepening your immersion and stirring your feelings on a level you might not even realize until you rewind and listen closely. Right from the opening scenes, the score sets the tone like a whisper that grows into a roar. You get this unique blend of orchestral grandeur mixed with dusty, almost country western twangs, perfectly capturing the film's hybrid identity. Part space opera, part frontier saga. The music instantly evokes that sprawling universe, where endless stars stretch out like the Wild West's untamed frontiers. It's grand and sweeping but also gritty and raw, reflecting both the vastness of space and the scrappy survival spirit of Mal and his crew. The instrumentation cleverly mixes strings, brass, and subtle electronic elements, giving the score a timeless yet futuristic feel that anchors you firmly in Serenity's distinctive world. What really stands out are the recurring motifs, musical themes that act like emotional signposts throughout the film. Each motif is tied to a character or a feeling, and they pop up in different forms, reminding you who's in focus and what's at stake. River's theme, for example, is haunting and delicate, often built around minor key melodies that convey both fragility and danger. It mirrors her complexity. She's both a vulnerable girl and a force to be reckoned with, and the music perfectly captures that duality. When her theme appears, it adds layers of tension and sympathy, making you pay attention to her silent battles and sudden bursts of power. Mal's theme, on the other hand, is robust and adventurous, with a rebellious edge that suits his roguish leadership. It's the kind of melody you imagine playing as he strides across a dusty alien town or stands firm against impossible odds. This theme recurs at key moments, tying together his journey and reminding you of his grit and heart. These musical callbacks do more than fill space. They build an emotional continuity that helps the audience stay connected to the characters' internal and external struggles, even as the story jumps across planets and time. The film's use of silence, or near silence, is a masterstroke. There are scenes where the music drops away almost completely, leaving only the ambient sounds of the ship, the subtle rustle of clothes, or the distant hum of engines. These quiet moments create a kind of sonic tension, inviting you to lean into the scene and absorb the emotional undercurrents without distraction. It's like the score is giving the story room to breathe, respecting the power of stillness and the weight of unsaid thoughts. This restraint makes the moments when the music does swell even more impactful, as the contrast amplifies the emotions and stakes. In the high-energy sequences, the shootouts, chases, and fights, the score kicks into high gear with dynamic percussion, driving rhythms, and bold brass. But unlike some action films that just blast music at you, Serenity's score is smart and deliberate here. The music syncs tightly with the choreography, enhancing the excitement without overwhelming the visuals. It's almost like the score is another member of the crew, moving fluidly with the action, heightening your pulse without stealing focus. These moments feel visceral and kinetic, and the music's pacing perfectly matches the editing and directing to keep your adrenaline pumping. Humor and warmth also find their place in the soundtrack's palette. When the crew shares light-hearted moments or quiet camaraderie, the music often shifts to lighter, more playful tunes, sometimes with a folksy or jazzy vibe, that underline the bonds between characters and the little joys that keep them going. These tonal shifts in the score make the film feel more human and rounded, reminding you that beneath the outer shell of space battles and conspiracies, this is a story about family and friendship. The music here invites you to smile and relax, providing emotional relief and balance. Another fascinating layer is how the soundtrack supports the film's unique genre blending. You hear elements borrowed from classic Western scores, twangy guitars, harmonicas, and steady drum beats, woven alongside sci-fi synths and sweeping cinematic arrangements. This sonic fusion helps root the film's identity, making the world feel alive and unpredictable. It's like the music itself is a fusion of past and future, tradition and innovation, much like the crew trying to find their place between lawlessness and order. This careful genre blending in the score is subtle but brilliant, continuously reminding you of the film's layered identity. The timing of the music's entrances and exits is also beautifully precise. The score doesn't rush in to tell you how to feel, nor does it linger too long and become intrusive. Instead, it flows in and out of scenes at just the right moments, reinforcing emotional beats without forcing them. A soft piano phrase might underscore a tender glance, a swelling string section might lift a moment of triumph, and a tense, pulsing rhythm might underscore a stealthy approach. These musical cues guide your emotional journey with finesse, creating a rhythm that feels natural and intuitive. During the more intimate, character-driven scenes, the music often pairs back to minimalist textures, delicate piano notes, sustained strings, or ambient soundscapes that invite quiet reflection. These sparse moments add emotional depth, allowing you to feel the characters' inner lives without needing dialogue. The music becomes almost like a whisper of their unspoken fears, hopes, and regrets, making you lean in closer and feel more connected. Overall, the Serenity soundtrack and score don't just accompany the story. They elevate it to something richer and more immersive. They craft a sonic landscape that's as rugged and beautiful as the frontier itself, as tense and thrilling as a firefight, and as tender and complex as the bonds between the crew. This music doesn't just sit under the film. It becomes an emotional compass, guiding your feelings, building the world, and making every moment resonate long after the screen goes dark. It's a reminder that in the vast emptiness of space, sometimes the most powerful force is a melody that stays with you. Serenity isn't just a high-octane space adventure loaded with shootouts, witty banter, and edge-of-your-seat chases. It's also a surprisingly deep dive into some pretty thought-provoking themes that keep bubbling under the surface throughout the film, inviting you to think while you're glued to the screen. One of the biggest ideas swirling through the story is the meaning of freedom. But it's not presented in a simple or black-and-white way. Instead, freedom in Serenity feels complicated, multi-layered, and sometimes painfully elusive. On the surface, you've got Reynolds and his crew, a band of scrappy rebels who are literally on the run from the government. Their fight is about breaking free from the iron grip of an oppressive regime that controls information, manipulates citizens, and suppresses dissent. That classic underdog tale of rebellion against tyranny is thrilling, but the movie digs deeper. It asks what freedom actually costs when every step you take is shadowed by danger, distrust, and sacrifice. The film explores the tension between the ideal of freedom and the harsh realities of survival. Mal and his crew live on the edges of society, always dodging law enforcement and government operatives, making you wonder if their life of freedom is actually a kind of prison too. One built from paranoia, loss, and the constant need to protect each other. They're free in one sense, but trapped in another. This duality makes the concept of freedom more nuanced and human, rather than just a grand political slogan. It's freedom wrapped in grit and scars, where the fight to live on your own terms is as much about inner resilience as it is about external rebellion. Running hand in hand with freedom is the powerful theme of family, but not the tidy, picture-perfect kind you might expect. Instead, Serenity presents family as something you build and choose, especially in a chaotic, unforgiving universe. The crew aboard the spaceship isn't connected by blood, but their bonds are as strong and messy as any traditional families. The film shows how loyalty, trust, and shared hardship can create a chosen family that protects and defines you just as much as biology might. Watching the interactions between Mal, Zoe, Wash, Kaylee, Jane, and River feels like peeking into a family dynamic full of love, frustration, humor, and fierce protection. They bicker like siblings, joke like old friends, and stand up for each other when the chips are down. This idea of found family resonates deeply, especially in a story where many characters are outcasts or haunted by their pasts, reminding us that sometimes the people you choose to fight for become your real home. The film also dives into themes of control and resistance, painting a vivid picture of an authoritarian government that operates in the shadows, suppressing truth and crushing rebellion. This portrayal invites the audience to consider the nature of power, how it can be abused, how secrecy breeds fear, and how courage becomes a radical act when standing up against such forces. The tension between the government's control and the crew's resistance is a constant undercurrent, adding layers of political commentary beneath the thrilling surface. It's not just about fighting bad guys. It's about questioning authority, uncovering hidden truths, and the price you pay for dissent. The film shows that resistance isn't always grand and heroic. It's often desperate, risky, and deeply personal. Identity is another rich theme woven into the fabric of Serenity. Characters like River Tam embody this beautifully complex struggle. River is both a brilliant, vulnerable young woman and a weaponized victim of government experiments, trapped between who she is and who they tried to make her. Her journey becomes a poignant exploration of reclaiming selfhood and agency, as she battles trauma and confusion to find her place in the world. This theme of transformation and self-discovery is echoed throughout the crew, as each character wrestles with their past, their fears, and their hopes for the future. The film doesn't offer neat answers. Instead, it presents identity as fluid and contested, reminding us that who we are is shaped by both the scars we carry and the choices we make. Morality and choice play a major role in the story's emotional complexity. The characters constantly face tough decisions that force them to balance survival, loyalty, and justice. There are no clear-cut heroes or villains here, just people trying to do right by each other in a messy, complicated world. Whether it's Mal's sometimes morally gray leadership, Zoe's fierce pragmatism, or Jane's self-interest clashing with moments of unexpected loyalty, the film explores how morality is rarely black and white. These shades of gray make the characters feel real and relatable, and they spark thought about what it means to be good in a world that doesn't always reward goodness. Even the humor in Serenity plays a role in its thematic fabric. The crew's sarcastic quips and playful insults aren't just for comic relief, they're survival tools, a way of coping with trauma and uncertainty. This humor brings lightness to the darkness and showcases human resilience in the face of adversity. It's a reminder that laughter can be a quiet act of rebellion, a way to hold on to sanity and connection when everything else is falling apart. Hope is perhaps the most understated yet vital theme threading through the film. Despite the grim circumstances, the constant danger, the loss, the betrayals, the crew's determination to keep moving forward, to protect one another and to fight for a better future, radiates a stubborn optimism. This hope isn't naive or shiny. It's tough, battered, and hard-won, much like the characters themselves. It gives the story an emotional heartbeat that keeps you invested, making you root for the crew not just because of the thrills, but because their struggle feels meaningful and real. What's remarkable is how Serenity weaves these themes naturally into the story without ever feeling preachy or forced. They emerge from the characters' choices, conflicts, and relationships, becoming part of the emotional texture rather than the headline. The film's sci-fi setting and genre elements become a rich backdrop for exploring universal ideas about freedom, family, identity, morality, and hope. These deeper messages linger with you after the action subsides, encouraging reflection on what it means to fight for what matters, to find connection in unexpected places, and to hold on to hope when the darkness seems overwhelming. It's this blend of thrilling adventure and thoughtful thematic depth that gives Serenity its lasting power and makes it a story worth coming back to again and again. When diving even deeper into the visual effects and CGI of Serenity, what really stands out is the thoughtful craftsmanship behind every frame, which gives the film its unique visual identity. It's clear the filmmakers weren't interested in relying solely on flashy digital effects or cutting-edge technology just for the sake of it. Instead, they carefully chose when and how to use CGI to support the gritty, lived-in world they wanted to create. This isn't a shiny, sterile sci-fi universe. It's one where grime clings to every surface, where the ship shows every dent and scratch earned through countless adventures, and where every environment feels authentic and real. The visual effects team embraced this aesthetic, making sure that every digital element enhanced the atmosphere rather than detracting from it. One of the most impressive things is how naturally the CGI blends with practical effects, making it hard at times to distinguish where one ends and the other begins. This seamless integration is crucial in maintaining the illusion of reality. For instance, the starship Serenity itself benefits hugely from this approach. The set designers and prop builders crafted intricate, detailed interiors that feel genuinely functional, with buttons, levers, and cluttered spaces that look like they've been lived in for years. When CGI is added, like the soft glow of control panels, the flicker of emergency lights, or the view of stars streaking past the windows, it elevates the set without overshadowing it. The ship feels like a real place, not just a backdrop, which deepens your connection to the characters and their journey. Space battles and external shots of the ship showcase the CGI at its best. The digital renderings of the ship moving through space, dodging enemy fire, and weaving through debris fields feel dynamic and tense. The visual effects artists resisted the urge to overdo it with endless explosions or hyper-realistic detailing. Instead, they opted for a style that emphasizes movement and drama over sheer visual spectacle. This creates a sense of momentum and urgency, keeping you on the edge of your seat without overwhelming the senses. What's more, the lighting and shadow play in these scenes add depth and dimension, giving the ships a tangible weight even in the vast emptiness of space. When it comes to creature design and alien elements, Serenity strikes another fascinating balance between practical effects and CGI. The film leans heavily on animatronics, prosthetics, and detailed makeup to bring many of its strange beings to life, and that practical touch adds a physicality that pure CGI often lacks. When the digital effects team steps in to enhance these creatures, adding glowing eyes, subtle movement, or otherworldly energy, they do so sparingly and thoughtfully. The result is alien beings that feel both believable and eerie, fitting perfectly within the film's slightly gritty and mysterious tone. These creatures don't just look cool, they serve to deepen the world building, making the universe feel rich and diverse. Even the film's more abstract visual elements, like River's psychic powers and flashbacks, rely on a combination of practical effects, clever lighting, and restrained CGI to evoke a haunting, dreamlike quality. These sequences aren't flashy or overwhelming. Instead, they use subtle distortions, flickering images, and eerie sound design to pull you into River's fractured mind. The restraint here works wonders, letting the emotional weight of the scenes come through without being buried under too much visual noise. Another layer of mastery lies in the attention to detail with environmental effects. Dust particles drifting through shafts of light, sparks flying from malfunctioning machinery, and rain or steam effects add texture and atmosphere. These little details might go unnoticed on a casual watch, but they're crucial in building a world that feels lived in and authentic. Many of these effects were created practically on set and then enhanced digitally, showing the filmmaker's commitment to combining the best of both worlds. The film's use of color grading and lighting ties all these effects together beautifully. The muted earth tone palette, full of rusty reds, dusty browns, and industrial grays, reinforces the ruggedness of the world, while the strategic use of shadows and highlights creates mood and tension. When digital effects are layered on top of these visuals, they adopt the same tonal qualities, helping to unify the film's look and feel. For example, laser blasts don't just glow brightly. They cast subtle reflections and flickers on nearby surfaces, anchoring them in the scene. What makes the visual effects in Serenity especially impressive is that they never feel like an add-on or distraction. They're woven into the storytelling fabric so tightly that they become invisible, serving the narrative and the characters instead of overshadowing them. The effects support the tone, mood, and pacing of the film, helping to immerse the audience in a believable universe where danger, mystery, and humanity collide. In essence, Serenity's visual effects and CGI work like an unspoken partner to the story. There when you need them, but never stealing the spotlight. They bring the film's universe to life with a perfect mix of artistry and technical skill, grounding the fantastical elements in a reality that feels genuine and relatable. This careful craftsmanship makes the film's sci-fi world feel tangible, gritty, and lived in, pulling viewers into its adventures and making every shot a little more immersive, thrilling, and memorable. In Serenity, the set design and choice of locations go far beyond merely providing a backdrop. They actively breathe life into the film's universe, shaping the mood, atmosphere, and even the story itself. From the moment you step inside the spaceship Serenity, you realize this isn't your typical gleaming sci-fi vessel. It's more like a spacefaring home that's been through battles, repairs, and years of hard living. The ship's interior is packed with layers of detail that tell a story all on their own. The walls have scratches and patches, wires peek out from panels, and the lighting is dim but functional, like a place where utility beats aesthetics every single time. These aren't just set decorations. They're tangible hints at the lives of the characters who inhabit this space. Every rusted pipe, every clunky control panel, every mismatched piece of furniture adds to the authenticity and warmth of the environment, creating a sense of intimacy that helps us connect with the crew on a personal level. The production designers made sure Serenity doesn't feel like a sterile, futuristic bubble but rather a battered, somewhat grimy refuge drifting through space. This lived-in look isn't just for show. It supports the film's larger themes of survival and resilience in a harsh universe. The ship's design reflects its owners: scrappy, resourceful, and a little rough around the edges. You get the sense that this is a place where repairs are made on the fly with whatever materials are at hand, where personal belongings are few but cherished, and where the crew has forged their own kind of family. Outside the ship, The film's various planets and locations are equally well realized and thoughtfully designed. Instead of bland cookie-cutter sci-fi worlds, each setting feels like it has its own unique character and story. The dusty, sun-bleached outposts evoke a sense of lawlessness and frontier spirit. Places where civilization is just holding on by a thread and danger is never far away. In contrast, the darker industrial or government-controlled zones feel cold, oppressive, and sterile, perfectly capturing the clash between freedom and authoritarian control that runs through the story. These contrasting locations aren't just eye candy. They reinforce the emotional stakes for the characters, making the universe feel bigger and more dangerous, while also emphasizing themes of hope, resistance, and belonging. The props scattered throughout Serenity deserve special mention for their role in world building. The filmmakers clearly went the extra mile to select or create objects that feel authentic and practical, not flashy or gimmicky. Weapons look used and maintained, tools and gadgets have a rugged simplicity, and even everyday items like cups, clothing, and furniture show signs of wear. These details make the universe feel real and grounded. When you see a weapon that's been taped up or a piece of tech held together with duct tape, it sends a silent message about the economy and lifestyle of this universe. One where resources are scarce, and improvisation is a way of life. This attention to detail turns ordinary objects into storytellers, offering clues about the characters' backgrounds, challenges, and personalities without a word spoken. The film's locations also add a cinematic richness that supports the pacing and emotional arcs. For example, the cramped, claustrophobic interiors of the ship underscore the close-knit, sometimes tense relationships among the crew, while the wide-open, dusty landscapes outside create a feeling of isolation and vulnerability that heightens the stakes. Lighting plays a huge role here. The warm orange glows of sunset on a barren planet contrast with the harsh, artificial fluorescence of a government facility, visually reinforcing the opposition between freedom and control, safety and danger, home and exile. Small world-building touches are scattered throughout the sets, adding subtle layers that reward attentive viewers. Graffiti scrawled on walls, signs in different languages, faded posters, and posters for outlawed events or missing persons all hint at a rich culture beyond what's shown on screen. These elements paint a picture of a universe that is multicultural, diverse, and full of conflict and hope. It's a universe that feels lived in, where history has left its mark, and every corner holds a story waiting to be discovered. What makes the set design and locations so compelling is how perfectly they complement the story and characters without ever feeling forced or artificial. They don't scream for attention but instead quietly enrich the film's texture and tone. The careful blending of practical tactile sets with carefully chosen locations helps ground the film's sci-fi elements in reality, making the high-concept ideas feel relatable and believable. The gritty, worn aesthetic reminds us that this is a universe where people fight to survive and carve out their own freedom in the face of overwhelming odds. Moreover, the variety of environments keeps the visual experience fresh and engaging throughout the film. From the intimate corners of the ship to the harsh, sun-baked plains of distant planets, each setting offers new challenges and atmospheres that reflect the character's journey. This diversity not only adds visual interest but also allows the film to explore different facets of its world, from dangerous frontier towns to shadowy government facilities, giving viewers a deeper sense of place and stakes. All these elements, the detailed ship interiors, the diverse and textured planetary settings, the authentic props, and the subtle cultural cues, combine to build a universe that feels both believable and immersive. The production design creates a rich playground where the story can unfold naturally, helping the audience suspend disbelief and fully invest in the characters' struggles and triumphs. It's this thoughtful, layered approach to set design and locations that elevates Serenity beyond just a sci-fi adventure, making it a fully realized world you want to explore and get lost in. The dialogue and script in Serenity really stand out because they feel like the lifeblood of the entire film, threading together humor, emotion, and world-building in a way that's both natural and deeply engaging. From the very first scenes, the writing pulls you in with lines that snap with wit but never feel forced or out of place. What's remarkable is how the dialogue manages to capture the unique personalities of each character so perfectly that you almost hear their voices before they speak. It's not just about moving the plot forward, it's about revealing who these people are, what they've been through, and how they relate to one another, all through the words they exchange. The script's sharp wit is one of its most memorable features. The humor often comes from the clash of personalities, particularly from Reynolds, whose sarcastic, world-weary tone cuts through tense moments like a knife but also serves as a shield for deeper feelings. Mal's quips are quick and clever, often undercutting serious situations with a dose of dry humor that never feels out of place. But these jokes are layered, They aren't just for laughs, they reveal his leadership style, his past, and his coping mechanisms. His banter with the rest of the crew, especially with characters like Jane and Zoe, feels spontaneous and authentic, as if these lines have been shaped by years of shared history and camaraderie. The back and forth is so natural it almost feels improvised, which adds to the believability of their relationships. But the script doesn't stop at witty banter. It has a way of shifting gears to moments of genuine emotional weight with surprising ease. When the story calls for it, the dialogue dives into introspection and vulnerability. Characters express doubts, regrets, and hopes with a rawness that gives the film a strong emotional core. These quieter moments add depth, showing that beneath the tough exteriors and witty remarks, these characters carry pain and longing. For instance, when Mal grapples with the consequences of his past choices or when River's fragmented but poignant speech hints at her troubled mind, the dialogue gives us a window into their souls. It's this blend of humor and heart that makes the script so compelling. Never letting the film become a mere space adventure but instead turning it into a story about people and their struggles. Another fantastic aspect of the writing is how well it differentiates the characters through their speech patterns and word choices. Each character's dialogue reflects their background, personality, and current emotional state. River's lines, often cryptic and poetic, add an eerie and mysterious tone that contrasts sharply with Mal's blunt, pragmatic speech. Inara's graceful measured dialogue shows her poise and intelligence, while Jane's rough, straightforward manner reflects his mercenary nature. This variety in voices enriches the story, making the ensemble cast feel like a real group of individuals rather than interchangeable players. Even minor characters get their own flavor, which helps populate the film's world with a lively, believable cast. The script also excels in pacing, using dialogue to control the rhythm and tension of scenes masterfully. Rapid-fire exchanges during confrontations ramp up the excitement and urgency, while slower, more thoughtful conversations allow for reflection and character development. The transitions between these tones feel seamless, helping to maintain a dynamic flow that keeps viewers hooked. The dialogue often carries subtext, too. What isn't said can be just as important as what is, adding layers of complexity and encouraging the audience to read between the lines. Many lines in Serenity have become iconic because they perfectly capture the film's themes and tone. Whether it's Mal's sardonic remarks about the Alliance or River's hauntingly poetic observations, these lines linger in the mind because they resonate emotionally and intellectually. They feel earned, organic parts of the characters' voices rather than scripted sound bites, and that authenticity is what makes them so powerful. These memorable quotes often highlight the film's core messages about freedom, loyalty, and survival, giving the dialogue a weight beyond mere entertainment. Perhaps most importantly, the dialogue does an incredible job of revealing and deepening the relationships between characters. Conversations crackle with tension, affection, conflict, and loyalty, creating a web of interactions that feels both complex and real. The way characters speak to each other reflects years of shared experiences: friendship, betrayal, love, and loss, which adds emotional richness to the story. For example, the teasing and arguments between Mal and Jane aren't just comic relief. They show a complicated bond forged through trust and grudges. Similarly, the protective exchanges between Zoe and Mal reveal layers of respect and history. These nuanced dynamics make the film's interpersonal relationships as gripping as the external conflicts. The script's ability to balance humor with drama, action with introspection, and clarity with mystery is a testament to the skill of the writers. The dialogue never feels like a mere necessity to push the story forward but rather a vital, living element of the film's storytelling. It invites the audience to get to know the characters on a deeper level, understand their motivations, and feel invested in their journey. The script's strength lies in its naturalness. It feels like real people talking, arguing, laughing, and struggling, even as they navigate a fictional universe. In the end, the dialogue and script of Serenity serve as the heart and soul of the film, making it more than just a space adventure. It's a carefully crafted tapestry of voices and emotions that carries the audience through moments of tension, humor, and heartfelt connection. The writing turns a story about survival in a distant future into something timeless and relatable by focusing on the human experience beneath the sci-fi surface. It's this blend of sharp wit, emotional honesty, and memorable lines that give Serenity its distinctive charm and lasting appeal. Serenity truly dances on the fine line between honoring genre conventions and boldly subverting them, crafting a unique identity that keeps you guessing and engaged throughout. The film situates itself firmly in the sci-fi and space western tradition, but it does so with a wink and a nod, acknowledging the clichés while twisting and reinterpreting them to keep the experience fresh and surprising. From the get-go, it's clear that Serenity isn't just here to deliver the expected thrills of laser battles and spaceship chases. It's also interested in digging deeper, exploring what these genre elements mean for the characters and their world. The dusty frontier towns, outlaw crews, and lone gunslinger archetypes are all present, but they're filtered through a lens that adds grit, complexity, and emotional realism that you don't often see in traditional space operas. The film's approach to genre is multifaceted, balancing spectacle with substance in a way that never feels forced or gimmicky. When it comes to action, Serenity absolutely delivers. There are plenty of high-stakes shootouts, nail-biting chases, and tense standoffs that keep adrenaline levels high. But unlike some action-heavy sci-fi flicks, these moments are never just showy set pieces. They're tightly integrated into the story, each fight or escape mission revealing more about the character's skills, values, and relationships. The choreography of the action scenes respects the grounded, realistic tone of the film, making every move and gunshot feel earned and impactful. This groundedness adds weight to the action, so it never comes across as gratuitous or disconnected from the narrative. Suspense in Serenity isn't simply about physical danger. It's woven into the very fabric of the story's moral and psychological tensions. The constant threat of the oppressive alliance looming over the crew adds a political and emotional edge to the narrative. There's a pervasive sense of paranoia and urgency that drives much of the suspense, making viewers feel like they're right alongside the characters, navigating a world where trust is scarce and survival is a daily struggle. The film builds this tension carefully, layering character conflicts, secrets, and unfolding revelations to keep the audience hooked on multiple levels. The suspense feels organic, rooted in the characters' personal stakes and the wider socio-political landscape, rather than relying on cheap jump scares or relentless action. Humor is a brilliant thread running through the fabric of Serenity, providing relief from the tension without undermining the story's seriousness. The film's humor is often dry, sardonic, and born out of the characters' personalities and situations. Mal's sarcastic remarks, the crew's playful teasing, and moments of dark comedy all serve to humanize the characters and make their world feel lived in. This humor functions as a way for the characters to cope with the dangers and losses they face, adding emotional texture to the narrative. It also creates a rhythm that balances the film's heavier themes, ensuring the mood doesn't become overwhelmingly bleak. The interplay between humor and drama is a hallmark of Serenity's genre execution, showcasing its ability to blend tones without feeling disjointed. When it comes to drama, Serenity doesn't shy away from exploring complicated emotional landscapes. The film's characters are layered with past traumas, conflicting loyalties, and difficult moral choices, and these internal struggles play out against the backdrop of a larger political conflict. The drama arises naturally from the characters' interactions and their responses to the challenges they face, rather than from melodrama or contrived twists. This grounded approach gives the story emotional resonance, making viewers care about the characters' fates and dilemmas. The drama is heightened by the film's willingness to confront darker themes, such as loss, identity, and freedom, in ways that feel honest and unflinching. What makes Serenity stand out in genre execution is how it redefines some classic archetypes and tropes with nuance and complexity. Mal Reynolds, for instance, is more than just the typical rogue captain. He's a man haunted by his past, struggling with the weight of leadership and the consequences of his choices. River Tam isn't just a mysterious gifted girl. Her character embodies themes of vulnerability and strength, trauma and resilience. The film takes care to show these characters' flaws and contradictions, turning familiar templates into fully realized individuals. This approach keeps the story from becoming predictable or formulaic and invites the audience to engage more deeply with the characters' journeys. Visual and thematic elements also play a role in how Serenity executes its genre blend. The film's aesthetic embraces the rough-and-tumble feel of a Western frontier, but infuses it with futuristic technology and sci-fi elements. This mashup creates a universe that feels tangible and unique, a place that's both strange and familiar. The worn-down ships, dusty planets, and lived-in sets reinforce the idea of a universe where survival is hard-won, and hope is often fragile. This setting enriches the genre execution by giving the story a distinctive visual identity that complements its themes. At the same time, Serenity respects its audience's intelligence by weaving in philosophical and ethical questions within the framework of a genre adventure. It doesn't dumb down complex ideas about control, freedom, and humanity. Instead, it presents them in ways that are accessible but thought-provoking. This intellectual layer adds depth to the film, making it not just entertaining but meaningful. The balance between accessible storytelling and thematic richness is a sign of mature genre execution. The way the film juggles multiple tones, mixing action, suspense, humor, and drama, is a testament to its confident and skillful storytelling. Rather than feeling disjointed or uneven, these elements come together to create a cohesive and immersive experience. The pacing allows moments of high energy to alternate with scenes of reflection, giving the audience time to absorb the story's emotional beats. The tonal shifts feel natural, a reflection of the characters' complex lives rather than arbitrary genre switches. In short, Serenity doesn't just follow the rules of its genres. It plays with them, twists them, and occasionally breaks them in ways that serve the story and characters beautifully. It delivers the thrills and excitement expected of a space western while enriching the narrative with emotional depth, moral complexity, and humor. This thoughtful blending of genre elements creates a film that's as fun and entertaining as it is smart and resonant. It's a reminder that genre films can be more than escapism. They can be a lens to explore real human experiences, even in the vastness of space. Serenity isn't your average sci-fi flick that just throws futuristic gadgets and space battles on screen for spectacle. It's sneakily smart, weaving in sharp social and cultural commentary that adds layers beneath the surface action. What's brilliant about this film is how it uses its far-flung, dystopian setting as a canvas to explore very real and timely issues without ever feeling like it's lecturing the audience. The oppressive alliance isn't just a generic villain. It's a clear metaphor for authoritarian regimes and institutions that crave total control over people's lives, monitoring, regulating, and suppressing individual freedoms. This theme of power and control courses through the film's veins but doesn't hit you over the head. Instead, it's embedded in the characters' daily struggles, their constant need to watch their backs, and their fight for survival, making these abstract political ideas feel immediate and visceral. What makes Serenity's commentary stand out is how it filters these big societal themes through personal, emotional stories. Take River Tam's character, for instance. Her arc touches on issues like invasive government surveillance, unethical scientific experimentation, and the trauma of being stripped of agency. Topics that resonate strongly with contemporary conversations about privacy, human rights, and the ethics of science. But instead of turning her story into a political rant, the film integrates these elements into the emotional heart of the narrative. River's struggles feel deeply human, showing the cost of such abuses on an individual level. Her pain and resilience give a face and voice to the consequences of unchecked power, making the social commentary both intimate and impactful. Then there's the crew of Serenity itself, a ragtag band of rebels and outcasts who don't fit into the neat categories the Alliance wants to enforce. This group represents the marginalized, the misunderstood, the others, who live on the fringes of society. Their camaraderie and loyalty to each other serve as a powerful reminder of how communities form in opposition to oppression, how identity and belonging can be reclaimed even when society tries to erase you. This theme of marginalized voices finding strength and solidarity adds a rich cultural dimension to the film. It subtly challenges viewers to think about who gets excluded or silenced in their own worlds, and how resilience often grows in the margins. Serenity also delves into the ever-relevant debate between order and freedom. The Alliance embodies rigid control, a bureaucratic machine that demands conformity and quashes dissent, while the crew fights for autonomy and the right to chart their own course, even if it means living outside the law. This conflict isn't painted in simplistic black and white. The film acknowledges the messy complexities of rebellion and governance. The characters grapple with questions about the cost of freedom, the weight of leadership, and the consequences of resistance. This nuanced treatment elevates the story beyond a straightforward good versus evil narrative, encouraging the audience to reflect on the nature of power and what it means to truly be free. Culturally, the film's blending of a gritty Western aesthetic with futuristic technology isn't just a stylish choice. It comments on the intersections and tensions between tradition and progress, old worlds and new frontiers. The rough, dusty towns and frontier justice vibe juxtaposed with advanced spaceships and high-tech weaponry create a universe that feels simultaneously familiar and strange. This fusion mirrors real-world cultural collisions, how globalization, technological advancement, and cultural preservation clash and coalesce. The film quietly raises questions about identity in an evolving world, where history and heritage meet innovation and change. Moreover, Serenity touches on scientific ethics and the price of human experimentation, embodied most vividly in River's backstory. Her condition and abilities are the result of invasive research that disregarded her humanity, sparking reflections on the dangers of dehumanizing scientific pursuits. This subplot nudges viewers to consider the fine line between progress and exploitation, highlighting the moral complexities of scientific ambition. It's a weighty theme handled with subtlety, woven seamlessly into the narrative rather than standing apart as an obvious message. What's truly impressive is how all this social and cultural commentary feels organic. It's never dropped into the story as a heavy-handed sermon but arises naturally from the characters' experiences and the world they inhabit. The film trusts its audience to pick up on these layers, offering thought-provoking ideas without sacrificing the excitement and heart of the adventure. It respects viewers' intelligence, making the commentary feel like part of the journey rather than an interruption. Even the dynamics between characters reflect these larger themes. The distrust, alliances, and sacrifices among the crew mirror the broader struggles between individuals and oppressive systems. Their personal battles resonate with the film's political undertones, creating a tight interplay between the micro and macro levels of the story. In essence, Serenity uses its sci-fi setting as more than just a backdrop for action and thrills. It's a rich, complex world that invites viewers to think about real issues, about power, freedom, identity, and humanity, all while delivering a gripping narrative. This blend of social and cultural insight with entertainment makes the film not only memorable but meaningful, giving it a depth that encourages reflection long after the adventure ends. It's this clever weaving of commentary into the fabric of the story that helps Serenity stand out as a film with both heart and brain. Serenity is a film that truly knows how to connect with its audience on multiple emotional levels, making the viewing experience feel like a roller coaster packed with laughter, suspense, heartbreak, and moments of pure exhilaration. What's striking about this movie is how it immediately draws you into its world through the strength and relatability of its characters. These aren't just faceless sci-fi heroes or villains. They are flawed, layered individuals whose struggles and triumphs feel personal. From the very first scene, you find yourself caring deeply about what happens to them, and that emotional bond makes every twist and turn in the story hit that much harder. One of the ways Serenity achieves this emotional engagement is through its clever use of humor. The witty banter between characters isn't just there for comic relief. It serves a crucial role in building the sense of camaraderie and family among the crew. Their sharp, often sarcastic exchanges make them feel like people you might actually know, which pulls you in further. This humor also lightens the mood at just the right moments, giving the audience some breathing room before plunging back into the film's more intense and dramatic scenes. These moments of laughter create a warm contrast to the darker elements, making the characters' relationships more believable and their struggles more poignant. On the flip side, the film delivers powerful emotional punches, especially through River Tam's haunting storyline. River's trauma, vulnerability, and moments of strength provide a deeply affecting emotional core. Her journey is not just about escaping her past or understanding her own powers. It's about reclaiming her identity and humanity after being stripped of both. Watching her navigate this painful path invites genuine empathy and often leaves viewers feeling heartbroken, hopeful, or inspired. The way Serenity handles her story is subtle yet impactful, never resorting to melodrama but instead showing raw, honest emotion that lingers long after the scene ends. The excitement and tension in Serenity also play a huge role in keeping the audience hooked. The film's pacing is carefully crafted to maintain a steady rhythm of action and suspense. From heart-stopping shootouts to narrow escapes and daring rescues, these sequences aren't just there to dazzle. They carry real stakes because you're emotionally invested in the character's survival and success. This makes the thrills feel earned and satisfying rather than empty spectacle. The combination of adrenaline-pumping moments with genuine emotional weight is what makes Serenity so gripping. You find yourself holding your breath, rooting for the crew as if they were your own friends facing impossible odds. Adding to the emotional roller coaster are the unexpected twists and revelations that keep the narrative fresh and unpredictable. Serenity isn't afraid to challenge its audience with moments that surprise, shock, or even unsettle. These plot turns deepen the story and characters rather than simply shocking for shock's sake, which makes the emotional impact even stronger. When the film pulls the rug out from under you, it heightens the investment and keeps you guessing, which is part of what makes repeat viewing so rewarding. You catch details missed the first time and appreciate the layers of storytelling even more. Another key factor in Serenity's ability to engage audiences is the richness of its themes and moral questions. The film doesn't just tell a story. It invites you to think about freedom, control, loyalty, and identity. These ideas naturally spark conversations and reflections long after the movie ends. Viewers often find themselves debating character choices, the nature of the alliance's control, and what true rebellion means. This depth encourages repeated viewings and fuels passionate discussions among fans, building a community that connects over shared enthusiasm for the story's complexities. Genre blending also plays a major role in audience engagement. Serenity combines elements of sci-fi, western, thriller, and drama to create a unique tone that keeps things fresh and exciting. This fusion surprises viewers by defying expectations. One moment you're immersed in a tense space chase, the next you're in a dusty frontier town with gunslingers. This unexpected mix keeps the experience dynamic and unpredictable, appealing to a wide range of tastes and emotions. It makes the film feel like an adventure that can be enjoyed on many levels, whether you're there for the action, the characters, or the deeper themes. The soundtrack and musical score deserve special mention as well because they do a phenomenal job of enhancing the emotional landscape. The music heightens tension, underscores emotional beats, and even offers moments of calm that allow the story's emotional nuances to shine through. The score acts almost like a character itself, guiding the audience's feelings and adding an extra layer of immersion. Whether it's a soaring theme that lifts the spirit or a quiet, haunting melody that underscores a moment of sadness, the music stays with you, reinforcing the film's emotional impact long after you've seen it. What really ties all of this together is the film's ability to balance all these emotional elements so well. It doesn't rely solely on heart-pounding action or tearjerker drama. It weaves these emotions together to create a fully rounded, immersive experience. You laugh, you cheer, you feel tension rise, and then your heartstrings get tugged, often all within the span of a few minutes. This emotional layering keeps the audience deeply connected and invested in the story, making it more than just a movie but an experience you want to revisit. In many ways, watching Serenity feels like joining a group of friends on a wild, unpredictable journey. You become part of their world, sharing in their victories and setbacks, their jokes and fears. This emotional connection is what makes the film stand out. It's not just the story that captivates but the way it makes you feel along the way. It invites you to care, to reflect, and to come back for more, making the audience's engagement a rich, multi-dimensional affair. When diving deeper into how Serenity stacks up against other films in the sci-fi, space western, and action-adventure genres, you begin to see why it holds a special place in the hearts of fans and critics alike. It's not just another space flick riding on dazzling visuals or over-the-top explosions. Instead, it focuses on blending genres in a way that feels organic and purposeful, creating a unique flavor that's hard to pin down but impossible to forget. While many sci-fi films aim for spectacle and grandiose narratives, Serenity keeps its eye on the small, messy human moments. The kind of moments that make the vastness of space feel intimate and personal. If you consider the broader universe of space-based movies, the Star Wars saga often looms large in comparisons. Unlike Star Wars with its clear-cut heroes and villains, Serenity offers a grittier, morally gray take on rebellion and survival. The characters in Serenity aren't destined heroes but flawed individuals, making choices out of desperation, loyalty, and sometimes sheer stubbornness. This grounding in realism and ambiguity creates a compelling contrast to the grand mythic scale of other space operas. The emotional depth and ethical complexity make you think twice about the good guys and bad guys, instead of settling for easy answers. When you put Serenity next to other space westerns like Outland or the more recent The Mandalorian, you see how it merges the rough, dusty frontier vibes with futuristic tech and political intrigue in a way that feels seamless. The dusty towns and rough characters could easily fit into a classic western, yet the sci-fi elements never feel tacked on. They're woven into the world building, making the environment feel lived in and believable. The film embraces genre conventions, gunslingers, outlaws, lawlessness, but spices it up with starships, mind control experiments, and shadowy government forces. It's like watching a spaghetti western, but with lasers and spaceships replacing horses and six-shooters. On the director's front, Joss Whedon's fingerprints are all over the film's tone and style, which helps Serenity stand apart. Whedon's knack for witty, snappy dialogue and strong ensemble casts shines through, but Serenity also ventures into darker, more mature storytelling than some of his earlier work. Fans of his previous projects like Buffy the Vampire Slayer will recognize the blend of humor and heart, but Serenity pushes those elements into new territory. The movie takes its characters seriously, allowing them to wrestle with trauma, trust, and betrayal, which adds weight to the fast-paced action scenes and comedic moments. It's a balancing act that few directors manage so well in genre filmmaking. If you look at other cult classics with devoted fanbases, Serenity fits comfortably alongside titles like The Fifth Element or Guardians of the Galaxy. Films that mix genre tropes with offbeat humor and heartfelt storytelling. But where Serenity often feels stronger is in its emotional resonance. It's not just a fun ride. It's a story about found family, sacrifice, and the struggle to maintain identity under oppressive forces. These themes run deeper than many similar films and invite the audience to care about the characters beyond their surface charm or action heroics. The practical effects and production design also set Serenity apart from some CGI-heavy competitors. Instead of relying mostly on digital effects, the film blends practical sets, real locations, and subtle CGI to create a tactile, believable world. This approach lends a grittiness and authenticity that draws viewers into the universe in a way that pure CGI environments sometimes fail to do. The textures of the ship interiors, the worn clothes, and the rugged landscapes all speak to a lived-in reality, making the sci-fi elements feel less like fantasy and more like a natural extension of a real universe. In terms of pacing and narrative structure, Serenity avoids the trap of following a cookie-cutter formula. While it contains action sequences and plot points familiar to fans of the genre, such as the final showdown or the rescue mission, it often subverts expectations by focusing on character-driven moments. This means it doesn't just rush from one explosion to the next but pauses to explore the emotional consequences of those events. The result is a rhythm that feels more organic and engaging, allowing viewers to breathe between adrenaline rushes and reflect on the stakes. The script itself, with its sharp wit and thoughtful dialogue, stands out when compared to other genre films that might rely on clichés or exposition-heavy monologues. Serenity keeps the language lively and realistic, with characters speaking in ways that feel natural to their backgrounds and experiences. This makes the dialogue memorable and often quotable, creating moments that linger in the mind long after the credits roll. The humor isn't just inserted to break tension but emerges naturally from character interactions, making the film feel more authentic and entertaining. Genre fans will appreciate how Serenity respects classic tropes while bending them just enough to keep things fresh. It's a film that doesn't shy away from action or suspense but balances those with emotional depth and moral complexity. Unlike many sci-fi films that focus heavily on futuristic technology or alien worlds, Serenity grounds itself in human stories, loyalty, betrayal, hope, and survival, that resonate universally. This blending of the familiar and the new is a big part of why the film feels so engaging and why it continues to be a favorite for many viewers. In summary, when you compare Serenity to its peers, whether in the broader sci-fi landscape, the space western subgenre, or Joss Whedon's filmography, it manages to hold its own by mixing genre staples with rich character development and emotional storytelling. It doesn't just deliver an entertaining ride but also invites viewers to care deeply about its world and the people who inhabit it. This unique combination is what makes Serenity stand out as both a tribute to its influences and a bold, memorable film in its own right. Serenity is a film that delights in layering its storytelling with symbolism and metaphors, creating a rich tapestry of meaning that rewards viewers who dive beneath the surface. These deeper elements don't just sit quietly in the background. They actively shape how we understand the story and its characters, giving the movie an almost poetic texture that contrasts beautifully with its action-packed sci-fi exterior. The more you watch, the more you realize that every visual cue, recurring motif, and thematic hint is a deliberate choice, inviting you to engage with the film on multiple levels. Let's start with the most obvious yet powerful symbol: the ship itself, Serenity. It's not just a spaceship ferrying the crew through the cosmos. It's a mobile sanctuary and a symbol of freedom. In a universe where control and oppression loom large, Serenity is a floating bastion of individuality and resistance. Its battered hull and worn interiors tell stories of past skirmishes and hard-won survival, echoing the scars and struggles of the people who call it home. The ship's name, Serenity, is deeply ironic too. The crew rarely experiences true peace, yet they cling to the hope and promise that the name represents. The ship becomes a metaphor for the fragile, fleeting nature of freedom itself, something precious but always under threat. Then there's the Serenity River, which the film's title references, weaving a poetic metaphor that runs through the narrative like an undercurrent. Rivers often symbolize life's flow, constant change, and the journey of time. In the movie, this river is more than just a geographical feature. It's a symbol of the crew's passage through a chaotic universe. Like the river, their lives are in constant motion, sometimes calm and sometimes turbulent, shaped by forces both natural and unnatural. The river also suggests that life keeps moving forward, regardless of obstacles, hinting at themes of endurance and the passage from one phase of existence to another. The interplay of light and shadow in Serenity is another key piece of symbolic storytelling. Scenes drenched in darkness or low light often accompany moments of moral uncertainty, secrets, or emotional vulnerability. Shadows cloak the characters when they face inner demons or confront betrayal, visually reinforcing the murky ethical terrain they navigate. Conversely, moments bathed in light often signal clarity, hope, or revelation. The contrast isn't just cinematic flair, it's a visual metaphor for the tension between knowledge and ignorance, hope and despair, freedom and control. Watching how the filmmakers use light and darkness enriches the experience by highlighting the film's emotional and thematic depth without needing a single word of explanation. Colors in the film are carefully chosen to enhance this symbolism. The warm, earthy tones that dominate the ship and the crew's world evoke a sense of groundedness and humanity, while the sterile whites and cold grays of government and corporate spaces feel alien, mechanical, and oppressive. This color palette underscores the clash between the organic, messy reality of human life and the rigid, dehumanizing forces of authoritarian power. The muted, lived-in look of the ship and characters contrasts sharply with the clinical environments controlled by the Alliance, visually narrating the film's central conflict in every frame. Recurring motifs like broken objects, scars, and worn clothing carry metaphorical weight as well. These aren't just details of costume or set design. They reflect the characters' internal states and histories. Scars, whether physical or emotional, signify past trauma and hardship, but also survival and resilience. Broken machinery and tattered belongings echo the imperfect, fragile nature of the world the characters inhabit. These visual cues invite viewers to consider how imperfection and damage shape identity and drive personal growth, turning every small detail into a piece of the storytelling puzzle. The film also uses animals and creatures symbolically, particularly the Reavers. These terrifying, savage beings represent the primal, chaotic forces unleashed when civilization breaks down. They are the dark mirror to the crew's struggle to hold on to their humanity and order amid chaos. The Reavers embody the fear of losing control and becoming something monstrous, making them a powerful metaphor for the consequences of unchecked power and societal collapse. Their presence constantly reminds us of the thin line between civilization and savagery, order and chaos, sanity and madness. On a subtler level, the film's dialogue is laced with metaphor and thematic resonance. Characters frequently speak in phrases that carry double meanings, about ghosts, choices, freedom, and fate, that resonate beyond the immediate context. These lines become poetic threads weaving through the narrative, reinforcing ideas about the struggle for autonomy and the shadows of the past that haunt everyone. When a character talks about running from ghosts, for instance, it's not just about their literal past but also about escaping the burdens and consequences that shape who they are. Doors and thresholds appear repeatedly as visual metaphors. Characters often pause at doorways, stand hesitantly before crossing them, or face locked barriers that keep them confined or out of reach of safety. These images symbolize moments of choice, transition, and the courage needed to step into the unknown. Doors represent opportunities and obstacles, the boundary between comfort and danger, past and future. Watching these moments carefully reveals the characters' inner struggles with change and risk, making them small but meaningful narrative beats. Even seemingly minor visual details, like the way characters handle objects or glance at certain symbols, add to the metaphorical fabric. For example, the crew's casual handling of weapons and tools reflects their constant readiness to fight for survival, but also the weight of violence in their lives. The juxtaposition of everyday actions with extraordinary circumstances creates a layered texture that rewards attentive viewers. Ultimately, Serenity's use of symbolism and metaphor transforms it from a simple genre film into a rich, layered story that speaks to universal human experiences. These deeper layers invite viewers not just to watch but to think, feel, and interpret. They encourage repeated viewings, as new meanings and connections emerge each time. The film's symbolic language enriches the emotional resonance and broadens the scope of its storytelling, making Serenity a work that lingers in the mind and heart long after the screen goes dark. Serenity's place in the franchise and historical context is truly fascinating because it serves as a bridge between television and film, cult fandom and mainstream cinema, and niche storytelling and broader narrative ambitions. To understand its significance, you have to go back to where it all began, with Firefly, the TV series created by Joss Whedon. Firefly was a bold experiment in blending genres, mixing the ruggedness and moral complexity of a Western with the vast, imaginative possibilities of space opera. It introduced audiences to a motley crew of characters navigating a politically fractured universe, all aboard the spaceship Serenity. But despite critical praise and a dedicated fanbase, Firefly was tragically cancelled after just one season. This cancellation left fans heartbroken and hungry for closure, making Serenity not just a movie but a cinematic lifeline that kept the spirit of the show alive. In this light, Serenity is much more than a standalone film. It's a continuation and a resolution to a story that many thought would never get told properly. It picks up loose ends left dangling by the series, answering key questions about the Alliance government's shadowy control, the terrifying nature of the Reavers, and most poignantly, the fate of River Tam, whose mysterious powers and tortured past are central to both the series and the film. This means that Serenity functions as a crucial chapter in a larger saga, offering fans the closure they craved while simultaneously inviting new viewers into this rich, layered world. What makes Serenity stand out in its franchise context is how it respects the original material without becoming trapped by it. The movie retains the snappy dialogue, quirky character dynamics, and morally ambiguous tone that made Firefly unique, but it also embraces the cinematic form by delivering bigger action sequences, a tighter plot, and visually expansive settings. This balance between honoring the source and expanding the story's scope is tricky, but Serenity pulls it off with flair. It feels like a love letter to fans, full of callbacks and Easter eggs, but it's also accessible to anyone curious about the mix of sci-fi and Western adventure it offers. From a historical perspective, Serenity arrived at a pivotal moment in early 2000s genre filmmaking. This was a time when studios began seriously exploring how to adapt cult TV shows and niche properties for the big screen, often driven by passionate fan campaigns. Serenity became an emblem of this shift, showing that a loyal fan base could influence the industry and that stories with devoted but smaller audiences could find a place in theaters. Its success, though modest by blockbuster standards, proved that character-driven sci-fi with a unique voice could survive and even thrive outside traditional studio formulas. The movie also helped popularize the used future aesthetic, a gritty lived-in vision of space travel that contrasted sharply with the sleek, polished sci-fi of earlier decades. The weathered look of Serenity's ship, the rough edges of the technology, and the blend of rustic Western elements with futuristic settings all contributed to creating a universe that felt tangible and believable. This grounded approach influenced other sci-fi films and series that sought to depict space as a harsh, unforgiving environment shaped by human resilience rather than glossy spectacle. Serenity's visual style became a hallmark of its franchise and a touchstone for genre enthusiasts who appreciated this more realistic take on futuristic worlds. On a narrative level, Serenity expanded the franchise's exploration of themes like freedom, authority, and identity. While Firefly laid the groundwork with episodic storytelling, the film took a broader view, tackling the political machinations of the Alliance and the devastating effects of their control on individual lives. This gave the story a more urgent, epic quality, positioning it within the larger sci-fi tradition of rebellion against oppressive regimes. The film's political commentary resonates beyond its fictional universe, reflecting real-world questions about government overreach, personal autonomy, and the cost of resistance. This thematic depth is a key reason why Serenity feels significant both as a franchise installment and as a standalone work. Looking at the broader cultural impact, Serenity is a testament to the evolving relationship between creators, studios, and audiences. Its production was fueled in large part by fan enthusiasm, crowdfunding efforts, and a growing recognition of the value of niche communities. This collaborative dynamic was somewhat ahead of its time, anticipating the later explosion of fan-driven projects and the rise of social media campaigns influencing media production. Serenity helped pave the way for other cult favorites to find new life on the big screen or through streaming platforms, marking a turning point in how fandom and industry intersect. In terms of where Serenity fits within Joss Whedon's filmography, it occupies a special place as a work that combines his signature blend of humor, heart, and genre-savvy storytelling. It showcases his talent for crafting ensemble casts with sharp dialogue and complex relationships, while also delivering suspense and action. The film complements his other projects by emphasizing character over spectacle and emotional truth over formulaic plotting. This makes Serenity not just a franchise film but a key part of understanding Whedon's creative voice and his contribution to modern genre storytelling. All in all, Serenity is a fascinating example of how a film can be both deeply rooted in its franchise and strikingly innovative. It's a story born out of adversity, resurrected after cancellation, fueled by fan passion, and crafted with care to expand a beloved universe. It doesn't just add to the Firefly saga, it enriches it, deepens it, and ensures its legacy. Its historical context, narrative ambition, and unique style make it a standout piece of sci-fi cinema that continues to inspire and entertain years after its release. Let's really dive into the fascinating tale behind Serenity's budget and box office journey, because it's a roller coaster that offers plenty to unpack beyond the simple numbers. Starting with the budget, Serenity was crafted with around $39 million, which might sound like a hefty sum until you remember the vast scope sci-fi films often demand. Spaceships, futuristic technology, special effects, action sequences, detailed sets, and costumes don't come cheap, especially when you're trying to create a whole believable universe on screen. Compared to massive studio sci-fi blockbusters of the time, many of which cost upwards of $100 million or more, Serenity had to be a masterclass in efficiency and smart allocation of resources. The filmmakers had to carefully balance ambition with realism, ensuring that every dollar was stretched to bring the unique, used future world of the Firefly universe to life without looking cheap or incomplete. This is where the production quality really impresses. Despite the modest budget, Serenity manages to feel expansive, detailed, and atmospheric. The art direction and set design create a lived-in, weathered look for the ship and the universe, with gritty textures, rust, and practical effects giving the film a tactile authenticity. The CGI is employed sparingly but effectively, complementing rather than overwhelming the physical sets. This blend of practical and digital effects is a big reason the movie manages to avoid the common pitfall of looking like a low-budget sci-fi flick. Instead, it delivers a visual experience that feels immersive and rich, inviting viewers to believe in its world and the struggles of its characters. The production teams truly made every penny count, showing how careful planning and creative problem-solving can make a moderate budget look far more impressive on screen. Now, switching gears to the financial and box office side of the story, this is where things get more complicated. When Serenity hit theaters in 2005, it faced a tough marketplace. Despite its quality and the fervent passion of the Firefly fanbase, the movie grossed just around $40 million worldwide. That's only marginally above its production budget and does not factor in the marketing and distribution expenses, which are often substantial. In Hollywood accounting terms, this means Serenity was essentially a box office disappointment. It failed to generate the kind of blockbuster earnings studios typically seek when backing a sci-fi adventure. And this limited financial success had a big impact on the film's immediate legacy in terms of studio confidence and greenlighting similar projects. One crucial reason for this underwhelming box office performance was the marketing strategy, or lack thereof. The campaign was fairly niche, clearly targeted toward existing fans of Firefly rather than trying to lure a broader audience unfamiliar with the TV series. This made sense in some ways. After all, Firefly was a cult show with a passionate but relatively small fanbase. However, it also meant that casual moviegoers who might have enjoyed the film if given the chance were largely unaware of its release. The advertising push wasn't big or flashy enough to break through the clutter of summer blockbusters or the crowded theatrical schedule. There was also a challenge in marketing a film that functioned as a continuation of a cancelled TV show. How do you pitch a movie as both a sequel and an entry point? This tricky marketing tightrope probably contributed to many potential viewers skipping over it in theaters. Audience reception mirrored this split between die-hard fans and newcomers. The loyal Firefly enthusiasts practically celebrated the film as a long-awaited gift, showing up in theaters and later buying DVDs to support the project and relive the adventure. Their enthusiasm helped Serenity gain a cult status and ensured the film's longevity beyond the box office. However, for viewers without prior knowledge of the TV series, Serenity could feel somewhat dense or difficult to jump into. The movie assumes a familiarity with its characters, world, and backstory that casual audiences didn't always have, which may have dampened its appeal and word-of-mouth traction in theaters. This tension between fan service and accessibility is a classic challenge for franchise films spun out of niche properties. Yet, despite its financial underperformance, Serenity's influence extends far beyond its initial box office tally. The film demonstrated how a passionate fanbase and smart storytelling could make a film stand out creatively even if it didn't dominate the charts financially. It showed that sci-fi films with modest budgets could still deliver rich, immersive worlds and compelling narratives. Over time, Serenity gained recognition as a cult classic and a milestone for fan-driven projects, highlighting the growing power of dedicated communities to support and sustain their favorite stories in ways that traditional box office success didn't always capture. Ultimately, Serenity's budget and box office story is a fascinating case study in balancing creative ambition with financial realities. It's a film that managed to exceed expectations on screen given its resources, but struggled to translate that success into widespread commercial profit. This tension between artistry and economics is part of what makes Serenity such an interesting chapter in sci-fi cinema history. Proof that sometimes the most beloved films aren't the biggest earners, and that passion, creativity, and a loyal audience can leave a legacy far beyond the dollar signs. Alright, let's really unpack all the ways you can experience Serenity, and make sure you get the absolute best out of this thrilling sci-fi adventure. Since the film first hit theaters back in 2005, it's traveled a long way through the evolving landscape of movie watching, from physical media to streaming, digital rentals, and more, giving fans and newcomers alike plenty of options to enjoy this gem however they prefer. Let's start with streaming, which is probably the most convenient and popular way to watch movies today. Serenity has appeared on various streaming platforms over the years, and it still pops up on major services like Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, or even specialized sci-fi or genre-focused streaming sites. These platforms usually offer it as part of their subscription package, meaning once you're a member, you can watch Serenity as many times as you like without paying extra. Streaming is great for instant access. Whether you're lounging at home, traveling, or just looking for a quick way to jump into the verse on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The picture quality tends to be solid, especially on services that offer HD or even 4K streaming, so you don't miss out on the gritty textures of the ship Serenity or the nuanced facial expressions that bring the characters to life. But streaming can be a bit of a moving target since films come and go depending on licensing deals. If you want guaranteed access anytime you want without worrying about it disappearing, digital rental or purchase is the way to go. Platforms like iTunes, Google Play Movies, YouTube Movies, and Vudu all typically offer Serenity for rent or purchase. Renting usually gives you 48 hours of viewing once you start the movie. Perfect if you want a one-off watch or a weekend sci-fi binge. Buying the digital copy means it's yours forever. Stored in your online library ready for whenever you want to revisit Captain Mal and his ragtag crew. Plus, digital purchases often come with high-quality video and audio options, sometimes even better than streaming subscription versions, which means you get to enjoy the film's special effects, sound design, and score in rich detail. For the true enthusiasts and collectors, there's still something special about owning a physical copy of Serenity on DVD or Blu-ray. The Blu-ray, in particular, is a treasure trove of extras that really elevate the viewing experience beyond just the film. You get director commentary where Joss Whedon and the team spill the beans on behind-the-scenes challenges, the creative decisions that shaped the film, and funny anecdotes from the set. There are also featurettes exploring the visual effects, costume design, and even the passionate fan community that helped keep the spirit of Firefly alive through the movie. These extras make watching Serenity on Blu-ray feel like an event, where you're not just consuming the story but diving deep into its creation and legacy. Plus, Blu-ray offers superior picture clarity and sound quality, perfect for those who want to experience every detail, from the weathered surfaces of the Serenity ship to the layered sounds of the score and effects. Now, to get the fullest impact of Serenity, the environment you watch it in matters quite a bit. Since it's a sci-fi film packed with subtle character interactions, atmospheric shots, and an intricate world, a larger screen with good speakers or a high-quality headset can make a huge difference. Watching it in a darkened room helps you focus on all the little things: the flicker of lights on the ship's control panels, the expressions of quiet moments, or the intensity of the action scenes without distractions. The audio is particularly important too, since the film's soundtrack and sound design play a big role in setting the tone, heightening suspense, and adding emotional weight. And if you want to really soak in everything, it helps to watch Firefly first, if you haven't already. Since Serenity is a continuation of the TV series, many of its emotional punches and story arcs hit harder when you know the background of the characters and the verse they live in. Watching the show before the movie transforms Serenity from a standalone sci-fi flick into the epic conclusion of a beloved saga, making it a much richer and more rewarding experience. It's like reading the last chapter of an amazing book series. It's the payoff to all the setup, character building, and world exploration you saw before. For viewers new to the universe, though, the movie still works as an exciting adventure with plenty of heart and action. But keeping in mind the connection to the show can enhance your understanding and emotional engagement. Finally, there are other ways you might stumble upon Serenity. Sometimes it pops up on TV channels that specialize in sci-fi or cult classics, or it might be featured in film festivals or special screenings that celebrate Joss Whedon's work or cult favorites. These can be fun, communal ways to watch the movie surrounded by fellow fans who share the love for this unique story. So whether you stream it on your favorite platform, rent or buy it digitally for crisp quality and convenience, dive into the Blu-ray for the full behind-the-scenes experience, or watch the TV series first to get the full narrative payoff, Serenity offers multiple paths to step aboard the ship and lose yourself in a world that's equal parts thrilling space adventure and heartfelt character drama. Whichever way you choose, buckle up for a ride through the stars with a crew that's as charming as they are fierce, making every moment a blast.